My name is Heinzelmann. I'm a senior analyst in our research and innovation team. For those of you who don't know Good Energy, we're a 100% renewable electricity supplier based in Chippenham, in Wiltshire. We were founded in 1999 by our CEO, Juliet Davenport, and our mission is really at the core of everything we do. And that mission is to keep the world a habitable place by avoiding climate change, and also to help the UK become more energy self-sufficient. We're a 100% renewable electricity supplier. We're also a 100% carbon neutral gas supplier. That's made up of 6% biomethane, with the remainder being carbon offset. We've got about 70,000 electricity customers, 45,000 gas customers, a mixture of domestic and business. And we're also the second largest feed-in tariff administrator in the country, with about 130,000 sites. We're an AIM-listed company. As I mentioned, we're all based in Chippenham, so I work in Chippenham, where we have about 300 employees. We buy our electricity from about 1,400 independent generators up and down the country. Within that, we have 9 of our own sites. That's 7 solar sites and 2 wind sites. A bit of a delay on this. Why Cornwall? Why is Cornwall important to us? Well, I mentioned our 1,400 generators. You can hopefully see from the map there, it's quite hard to see the outline of the UK, but hopefully you can see that a huge number of those are located in Cornwall. We have lots of solar and lots of wind sites in Cornwall. We also have 3 of our solar sites in Cornwall and our first wind site, Delabole. Delabole was actually the UK's first commercial wind farm. Built in 1991, we purchased it in 2001. And we powered it in 2011. And Carlogos is our closest solar farm to us today, which was built in 2015. Now, local has always been a really important part of what we do at Good Energy. And local in regards to energy certainly makes sense. Local energy is a much more efficient way of consuming energy. It helps to keep money in the local economy. And it also helps to engage communities in something that we believe is really, really important. And we kind of heard earlier about the close to 1 million sites that are generating electricity now in the UK. So local, I believe, is becoming much more real. We really are consuming energy locally. Our first sort of foray into local energy was in 2013. We launched the UK's first local tariff, actually at Delabole. And that local tariff provided a 20% discount to customers living within a certain radius of our wind site. And it was in 2013 that we also went and spoke to those customers and asked them what they thought about the turbines. Obviously, they'd been living with them for 20 years, so they were generally pretty positive. One thing that was a common piece of feedback was that they could see these turbines spinning in the horizon, but they felt rather disconnected from the success of the turbines. So they could see them spinning, they knew they were generating energy, but they didn't feel that they were sharing in that success. So off the back of that, we also created our windfall payment, which provides up to £50 rebate to all of our customers on the local tariff at the end of every year, depending on how windy it's been. So on a very windy year, they'll all get £50 back. Now, a local tariff, a windfall payment, is really the very simplest form of a local energy supply. And local energy supply can mean many different things to many different people. There are several archetypes that are put forward to describe how local supply could be realised. And in 2015, my team, the innovation team, explored one of these a bit further with our trial of Piclo. Piclo is a peer-to-peer energy matching platform that allows customers and generators to buy and sell renewable electricity directly. So I'm going to give you a break from my waffling, where you can see a video of Piclo now commercialises electricity.
For the first time
in the UK,
you have the power
to select your power.
Because we are changing the way
your electricity is sourced.
This is decentralised.
This is local.
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 This is national.
This is 100%
renewable.
Wind.
Solar. Hydro.
Zero
carbon.
Good energy.
From across
the UK.
This is your choice.
This is Selectricity.
Selectricity. Selectricity.
Enabling you to deliver
your corporate social responsibility goals.
And bring to life your organisation's commitment
to zero carbon emissions.
Together,
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 We are
Good Energy Selectricity.
So we launched Selectricity to our commercial customers in November 2016, and hopefully you will have spotted the Eden project in there. The Eden project is one of our customers who are benefiting from the Selectricity platform. In fact, the original Piccolo pilot, so Piccolo was what Selectricity was before, about 20% of the people who participated in that pilot came from Cornwall, customers and generators. And we really see Selectricity as being an enabler for something like the Cornwall Energy Island. So during that Piccolo trial, 54% of the energy that was generated by Cornish Generators was matched with Cornish businesses through the Piccolo Selectricity platform. And that's a great number, that's really, really high, but we as a company have ambitions to see that increase. How do we have ambitions to see that increase? Well, through energy storage. If there's been one development since the first workshop in 2015 that has really shown that something like a Cornish Energy Island is possible, it is surely energy storage. The falling cost of renewables and their subsequent mass deployment, older power stations coming offline, have really brought energy storage to the fore. And it would be hard to stand here and talk about energy storage without mentioning the likes of Tesla. Tesla, who've managed to make electric vehicles sexy. They've produced gigafactories manufacturing lithium-ion on such a vast scale that we're seeing costs come down at a similar rate to that of solar PV. Closer to home, National Grid last year had its enhanced frequency response tender. All of that tender was won with battery storage projects, and they all came online at a price that was about half what people are anticipating. On a more personal note, Good Energy, we were delighted a couple of weeks ago to announced that we'd raised £16.7 million in a corporate bond offer to our customers. And that money is going to be used to promote the wider use of things like electric vehicles and energy storage. Energy storage, the frequency response market has really dictated the deployment of energy storage to date. And I think that kind of makes sense, that's to be expected. The characteristics of lithium-ion batteries mean that they're very good for fast, high power response sub-second. But if we're going to meet future emission reduction targets as a country, then storage is increasingly going to have to play a role in things like energy arbitrage. That will happen. As an innovation team, as a company, we're really interested in trying to figure out how we can accelerate the deployment of storage for those services. One area we're particularly interested in is how we can deploy domestic battery storage more efficiently. Why is that important? Well, during peak demand in the UK, domestic demand is around a half of it. So if you can start to eat into that, you can start to reduce peak demand in the UK. So one idea that we've had in particular, we've called community energy storage. Now, for things like a Cornish Energy Island, as subsidy-free domestic PV increasingly becomes possible, and maybe we'll see that in the next decade or so, it's going to be really, really important to be reducing grid import at peak times. That's the real problem that we've got, that 5 to 7 peak import. And a domestic household could do that now. They're perfectly free to go out and buy a domestic battery storage unit, something like a Tesla or a Sonnen or a Powervolt, and that could charge up with solar in the day and discharge in the evening, and that would really help. But that wouldn't be a particularly efficient way of using that battery, of deploying that domestic storage. If you imagine that the inverter on that battery is probably sized to meet a peak demand in the household, which maybe only occurs for 20-25 minutes of the day, and the bit that we really care about, that 5 to 7 peak, there's only about 1.5 kilowatt hours used during that time in the average household. So if you are, let's say, buying a Tesla Powerwall, then you've got a 14 kilowatt hour battery and a 5 kilowatt inverter, you can quickly see that most of that time those assets aren't being used, they're sitting doing pretty much nothing. Now, peak demand is going to occur at different times in different households. I've got 3 examples here of some household demand, and you can imagine, different lifestyle means that you're eating dinner at a different time, you're going to bed at a different time, and so you get some diversity in where that peak occurs. If you put those 2 together, you can see kind of what I was trying to say. There's your peak demand occurs at different times. And what that means is that when you aggregate together the demand of, just in this example, those 3 properties, well before each one was consuming about 2 kilowatts peak on average. If I add those all together, you'll see that the aggregate demand is about 3 kilowatts. So basically, the aggregate peak demand is much lower than the sum of the individual peak demands. What does that mean? Well, imagine if we could bring that battery in front of the household and have a single battery rather than three in three individual households, and operate that battery to discharge and meet the demand of these three households. That would be a much more efficient way of using that battery. The battery would be much smaller because we don't need such a big inverter. It would be smaller because we're not installing three separate batteries which aren't going to be used. It would be easier to install because you're only installing one rather than three. And it would therefore cost a lot less. But the impact on the network would be exactly the same as if each of those households had an individual storage unit. You've just moved its location ever so slightly. So we're looking to investigate something just like this. We think it has huge benefit. It could be a community-owned battery. You could have all sorts of different models that would enable people to benefit from that. You could lease a portion of it every year. For those less able to pay, you could have a pay-per-use system, where every kilowatt hour that was transferred through the battery, you paid a small fee. And that has great benefit to the grid because it's achieving what we want, which is reducing that peak demand, but at a much lower cost and in a much more efficient way. So we believe it's innovations like this, innovations in how storage is deployed, innovations in business models, that are really, really going to help with projects like the Cornish Energy Island. Thank you very much.